Hey YouTubers, welcome back to video number 21 of Small Engines Questions and Answers for Friday, November 5th, 2010. I've had a really busy week. First of all, I want to thank everybody for commenting on the compression videos that I put up the whole week. Also a thanks to those who've posted video responses. Before I get started today, I just want to show you a bike that came in. Guy's going to leave it here for the winter. It's a small Honda ST90. And it's a 1973. There's the date here, 3/73. That's a 37-year-old bike. The problem with this bike is when you crank it over, the motor doesn't turn. Even after adjusting the clutch here, it's still no better. So that's going to have to be ripped open. So that'll be a project for more videos during the coming months. So now let's get started with the Q&A for this week. Now, since it's compression test week, I've been getting a lot of questions as to why an engine would lose compression. Well, the main reason is that the rings would get worn out and they wouldn't be as thick here when you look at them. And what happens is that will create such a tight seal between the piston and the cylinder and the rings. Therefore, a lot more air is going to escape through the piston and the rings here. So what the rings do is they make a tight seal in the cylinder, and what that does is it stops the air from going back down the cylinder. So when the piston's going up and down like this, less air goes through if you have good rings. It can happen too on two-strokes is you can get wear and tear. The cylinder may get worn out and it may not be as small as it used to be. A few thousandths of an inch of wear and tear, you're going to lose compression. And then add wear and tear to the rings, and you're losing a lot of compression. So if you get scoring on your piston and rings like this due to no oil in the gas or very little oil in the gas, this will also cause your machine to lose a lot of compression. This can also be caused by carbon deposits breaking off from the exhaust port and getting jammed between the piston rings and the cylinder. In most cases, when it's scored like this, your small engine will not start at all. Now with a four-stroke engine, you may have an air leak in one of the valves, and that's going to cause you to lose some compression and power. You can extend the life of your engine by using good oil, proper mixture, proper spark plug. Make sure your engine doesn't overheat. Make sure you don't rev the engine too much when it's not under load. And just basically take care of your stuff and it should last a lot longer. Now, no matter how good you look after your stuff, you're still going to get wear and tear over the years because stuff only lasts for so long. But if you do the best you can to make sure everything's maintained properly, regularly, it's going to last a lot longer. Next question I have from a YouTuber is regarding 4-cycle engine oil for small engines. Now, a YouTuber said that sometimes you buy brand name small engine oil, like Craftsman or MTD or Poulan, Troy-Bilt, for example. Now, he says that he pays twice the price for those brand names of small engine motor oil. And he's wondering if using Castrol SAE30 oil is the same thing. Like for example, here's the Castrol HD30, and that's an SAE30 motor oil. And here's the Craftsman 4-cycle small engine oil, but if you read here in small print it says SAE30. And the answer is that it is the same oil. The SAE30 is a summer oil. It's thicker than 5W30, so only use this in your equipment in the summertime. And remember, you don't have to pay more money for sometimes a smaller container of the same stuff as this. The next question I have is someone's asking, what kind of oil do you use in your lawnmower? Do you use the SAE30 oil, which I just showed you, or 5W30? Well, I try to use SAE30 oil all the time, or HD30 from Castrol. The reason for that is the SAE30 is a summer oil. It's thicker, like I mentioned earlier, and it's usually what the manufacturers recommend. And in the winter time, I use 5W30 or 5W20 in my snowblowers. Now, my next question, a YouTuber is asking me if it's safe to wash small engines with water. Well, the answer to that is yes, it is safe to wash them as long as you follow a few precautions, and I'll show you just what to do. Now, if you're washing this little Honda motor here, you would be careful not to spray water directly on the carburetor over here, and you would want to be careful not to spray water under the air filter here, because it could go in there and cause you problems later on. You would also try not to spray water directly in here. Also, you would try to avoid getting water inside the flywheel too much, especially if you got points. This one doesn't have points, so it's not too bad. You could always cover up the carburetor with a plastic bag if you want. That's a good thing to do. I usually just use the garden hose to clean my engines, not a pressure washer, unless I know for sure no water is going to get into any area that could cause problems. Also, you'd want to be careful about the switches and all that. And really importantly, not to get water in the gas tank. Now, if you're cleaning a lawnmower with a Tecumseh engine, you'd want to make sure you don't get the air filter, which is exposed here, wet. If you get the filter really wet, it could get sucked into the carb and then deposit itself inside the bowl here and cause you problems. I clean lawnmowers all the time and small engines all the time, but I'm really careful doing that. And right after I clean them, I make sure it's sunny outside and let them dry up in the sun. Next question I have is regarding a 1967 12 horsepower lawn tractor. This guy's restoring an old Sears Suburban lawn tractor, and he realized that when he was just about to complete the project that he had the Tecumseh knock, he calls it. He says, I realized it had the dreaded Tecumseh knock. Now he says that the rod is slightly loose on the crankshaft. Also notice scuffing on two sides of the piston. Now he wants to repair this engine, but he's wondering with the scuffing on the piston if it's going to be okay. The problem he's also having with this piston is when he puts it in the cylinder without the rings on, it's a bit loose inside the cylinder. If he puts the rings back on, it's not as loose in there. The answer to that is if the piston is scuffed, it's kind of a 50-50 chance. There's no guarantee. You're taking a chance repairing that. It's a 1967. It's pretty old. It's going to be pretty hard to get original OEM parts for that. You can probably get aftermarket parts for it, but I don't know if you'll be able to get oversized parts for it. Now here's a Briggs motor here just to show you something. Sometimes there is a bit of loose between the piston and the cylinder. I have seen snowblowers with Tecumseh engines a bit loose like this, and they did run fine. They were not the greatest, but they did run. Sometimes when you consider the age of the engine you're fixing, there has to be like a trade-off. Sometimes you just can't get everything back in pristine condition. Depending on how bad your piston is scuffed, you could use a 320 grit sandpaper and a 400 grit sandpaper to finish it off. That may make it smoother. It could be that your piston has a lot of wear and tear, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be loose. Now this is the paper you'd want to use. That's a 400. You could start with a 320 on your scuff marks and then smooth it out with the 400. If you can't get an oversized piston and rings for your engine, you could try using standard size ones, but when you hone the cylinder, don't hone it too much, just a little bit, because you don't want to take off too much material there so that your piston's even more loose. If it's a motor that's got sentimental value to you, then it's worth fixing. Usually when I get a customer that brings in an old engine like that, they don't want to spend the money to repair it. Also, you can contact the people at mowersforyou.com. There's a number on that website. Leave a message along with your part numbers and they should get back to you with that. Also, another good place to look is ebay.com. You can also go to your local Tecumseh dealer or small engine shop and see what they can do for you. So to sum it all up, try to get new parts, new piston, rings, oversized of course. If not, try to get standard size parts. Or if you find it's just going to cost too much and you can't find the new parts, then you might want to look at replacing the whole motor. So that'll be it for this week's Small Engines Questions and Answers. And I want to thank everybody for watching and for commenting on the videos. Have yourself a nice week, and we'll see you next time. Take care now.